Hello, welcome to today's section. In further maths, I would like us to focus on a topic called games theory. Now, I know you've been embarking on a series of games. If I should tell you now to call some games, you tell me a lot about soccer, you tell me about the solitaire, the poker, the chess, the Scrabble, and so on. But before we go into details about games theory, I would just like us to take a look at our previous lesson. Okay, thank you. Welcome back. If you've been given the opportunity to name type of games, I know some of you mentioned soccer. Some go into detail mentioning games like it's called the poker game. Some can mention the solitaire game. Some can even go as well as mentioning the chess. Some will tell me Scrabbles. I think so much. But there's one thing about all this. In each game, there's a theory that governs the way the game is being played. For example, what is games theory? Now, let's say something. Now, it is a decision theory which is applicable to competitive games. Now, it is just a theory that defines the theory, the rules that governs each game that is being played. Now, you might ask yourself, what is a competitive game? What are competitive games? Now, a competitive game is a game between two or more persons. So each time you see yourself playing football in the pitch, you might see yourself playing the poker game, the chess, the Scrabble, the soccer, the poker game, the soccer, the solitaire. You can see yourself playing chess, you see yourself playing Scrabble. There's one you call it the Zuma game. You see yourself playing some of those things. All these games are competitive games. Now, how would you know that they're competitive games? What are the properties that you definitely see in a competitive game? Now, number one, it must be understandable. It must be a game that can be understood by anybody that wishes to take part in it. Then, secondly, its participants must be finite. So there should be a limited number of persons playing it. It shouldn't just be a game. A competitive game should just be what the whole world will just jump into. That is why the word finite used means there should be a particular number of persons involved in taking part in such game. And another thing is that players must know the course of actions available. There must be, number 4, a defined rule. There should be a well-defined rule in each game that states the do and the don'ts as the game progresses. And there should be specific exit points. Now, there should also be a rule that specifies when one is leading and when the other person is losing. So there should be a standard that determines if one is actually winning in the game or if one is losing in such game. But before we actually proceed, I'd like to tell us more on the types of games. So when you talk about the type of games, we have the one-person game that involves only a player. Example, the solitaire game. We have the two-person game. It involves two players. Example, we have chess, we have soccer, etc. We have the n-person games. It involves more than two players. And I give you an example. We have poker. We have series of games that can be classified into each and every one of these groups. So when you talk about game types and games that are being involved, types of game is being judged according to the number of players involved in such game. Now, to refresh your memory on what we've just discussed, take the test that is being shown on your screen, and do well to also use the lesson note on the platform for better information on the topic we've discussed. Feel free to always drop a question on the content section and your question will be attended to. Thank you. See you in our next lesson.